This weekend interview is powered by Modex. Need more energy, endurance, and faster recovery? Try Modex. Visit www.modexnatural.com. Hey team, welcome to this weekend interview for the Inside Running podcast. I had so much fun recording this one. It's with Peyton Craig, the 800 metre man that we watched do his thing at the 2024 Paris Olympics. The maturity with some of these younger runners coming through at the moment blows me away. And I think it's very evident in this chat with Peyton that you're about to listen to that these guys have their head switched on and like a really high level of professionalism, which makes me really excited about what we're going to see in the next 10 years with guys like Peyton. There is an interview at the very end with Dr. Chris Van Der Poel, who works with Modex. He's also a senior lecturer at Latrobe University. So if you want to hear more about that product, keep listening through to the very end. Hope you have a great weekend. Happy running. Enjoy this chat with Peyton and Dr. Chris Van Der Poel. All right, this weekend's guest on the Inside Running podcast is one of the most exciting young athletes we've got here in Australia. He's the Australian under-20 800 metre record holder. He was recently a semi-finalist at the 2024 Olympics, and he also got a silver medal at the under-20 World Championships. He could, I'm going to say he does, have the best kick finish of anyone here in Australia, and he's the third fastest Australian of all time over the 800 metres, plus he's only 19 years of age. A massive thanks to one of his sponsors, Modex, for making him available for this interview today. Peyton Craig, welcome to the Inside Running podcast.
Oh, it's great to be here, mate. Quite flattered by that bio.
That was my next question. Like, how do you go when people read that kind of stuff out? Like, is it sunk in and stuff yet?
Not completely, mate. Obviously the bio wasn't as good up until kind of 2024. So, it's been a really big year, and I don't think it really has sunk in. Obviously, the Olympics being the highlight, and still doesn't really quite feel real. It was always a childhood dream of mine to go to the Olympics, and now that I can actually say I am an Olympian, it just doesn't really feel right. It's a bit of a pinch me moment. So, it's been a great year, and obviously just want to continue the forward trajectory. So yeah.
And you join us from the Sunshine Coast. I think you've had. Oh, I think that's where you are. That's where you're based, isn't it?
Yeah, out of the Sunny Coast.
Yeah, and you've had some downtime like post-Olympics and then World Juniors, because it was so interesting for you guys that you kind of had two major championships so close together.
Yeah, mate, it was very much needed, the downtime. It's been a very, very long season, by far the longest season I've had, and obviously kind of almost peaking for I would say 3 times throughout the year. Once to nationals, and then the Olympics, and then World Juniors. It's been quite a draining but tricky year, and it was great to have a bit of time off and reset and come back stronger next year. So yeah. And
what does Peyton Craig's like switch off time look like? Are you a big like Netflix guy, or are you gaming or watching other sports, or what's it look like?
I'm a massive sport lover, so obviously watching sports. Obviously, it's pretty rugby league dominated up here, so follow the NRL very closely. But I'm pretty lucky. I live on the beach, so I love getting in the ocean for a bit of a surf and a swim. So that's always very refreshing and resetting in the off season. And then do enjoy playing golf too. So that's got a couple of rounds booked already for this week, so I'm going to enjoy that while I can.
So still spending some time in some pretty nice environments, out there on the greenery of the golf course, and a bit of Blue Doctor out there on the beach. So yeah, that sounds pretty good. Hey Peyton, what we do on this podcast is we usually whip through people's PBs to start the show. We know you're defined more by yourself, not just your PBs, but I want to throw these past you, and we'll jump down some rabbit holes and hear some stories about them as we go. So we'll start with the 800 metres, 144.11, which is the under-20 national record. You did it in the Olympic semi-final. I'm not sure how many times you've watched it, but I rewatched it this morning, and Jared
Yeah.
Waitley was doing the commentary saying if he runs a PB, he will make the final. You did go out and run a PB, but you didn't quite make the final. But you must have been stoked with that performance, and looking back at that PB now.
Yeah, mate. Obviously, um, look, the Olympics this year was obviously just a massive whole experience and a learning curve. And I think probably the goal I'd set myself going into the Olympics was to get out of the heat. And I think I'd be really happy with the semi final. So once I did that, going into that semi final, it was kind of just to, you know, have a crack and see how I go. Like kind of just leave everything out the track. And I think that is how I ran the semi. I wouldn't say I put myself in a bad position in that race, and probably I did give myself a chance to progress. But unfortunately, sometimes it's just faster guys, and those boys were just quicker than me on the day. So, yeah, obviously, I couldn't have asked for anything more than to run a PB in an Olympic semi-final. So, do I think I could have ran quicker? Yes, like I felt like I had a 1:43 in me, but wasn't quite to come just yet. So, next season, I think I've got it in me for sure. So, yeah.
What do you? I want to know what you'll learn in a second from that
Mm.
experience, but I'm looking at you today when I rewatched it. All the guys are in the bodysuits. Some of them in the half tights, and they got their singlets tucked in. I said to my wife, I said, "Come have a look at this guy. He's got the splitties on, the singlets untucked. Like you looked like the baller of the field, and you're the youngest and most least experienced. Like what's going through your head when they do that pan of you guys in your lanes and
Mm.
like are you getting scared in that situation as a youngster?
Oh, mate, for the heat, I was absolutely in all sorts. I was so nervous on that start line. But for that semi final, I think I was kind of just standing there and I'm kind of just looking up and looking around at the crowd. There was like over 80,000 people in that stadium for that semi final. So, in that moment, I guess on the start line, I was kind of just embracing it all, and I can't say I was nervous for that semi final. I was just really excited. So, I think it's by far the best mindset I've ever had going into a race, and especially one on such a large scale. So, yeah, it was definitely more excitement than anything. Just looking up and just thinking how cool is this? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's amazing that you can show that. And I know one of our friends of the show, very close friends of the show, he's Jordan Donnelly. He works for On, and he was in
yeah,
the warm
yep,
up area, and he was sending us messages saying how calm and collected you were for such a young
yeah,
person.
right,
And he kind
yeah,
of was saying, Craig's influence around you as well in
mm.
the warm up areas and stuff like that. So that's got to be a huge takeaway for you going
Oh,
into hopefully another at least two Olympics to come for you in the future.
yeah, 100%. I think that was the biggest thing I've just learned throughout the year was just how to maintain and hold myself in those higher pressure situations. And there's no better place to learn than the Olympics and in that highly competitive environment. I think it was super beneficial having Craig there in the warm up track with me. Obviously, been to four Olympics, and he's a pretty nice guy to talk to about a bit of pressure and the nerves and heading into your first Olympic race. So that was awesome to have, and yeah, I think it was just a really cool environment to be in. And gave me a massive buzz, and yeah, like I said, it was much different for the semi final than the heat, so that's for sure. But yeah.
What did you learn? What were your major takeaways that you sit there and go, okay,
Mm.
this opened my eyes, and this is maybe something we've got to work on for 4 years time.
Yeah, I think all I wanted to do heading into the games is just kind of not prove to anyone but myself that I belong at that level. And honestly, going into the Olympics, I did believe I did, but it was just a matter of going out and showing myself that I did. So I think the biggest thing I learned is just put yourself in the race, and that's all I tried to do in my heat. I think I ran a really smart heat. I gave myself every chance to progress, which I did, and you know coming through the bell in that heat after one lap, I was like, shit, like I really do belong in this arena. And just that was my biggest takeaway. Just if you're going to do something, do it, do it full hearted. Don't do it half hearted. And yeah, I was really stoked to obviously have that opportunity. But it was it was awesome. It was such an addictive feeling. Like you just kind of want to go back and just be in that moment again. So um, and obviously there's some massive takeaways too that I can learn from. And like I said, I thought I did run a good semi final, but there's obviously areas where I could have ran better, and um, probably probably just left a little bit too much running with the last 200 meters in that semi final. So probably could have positioned myself a bit better, but it's all race experience, and I guess that's what I've learned throughout the Olympics and World Juniors is all it's all just race experience, and it's only going to make me a better athlete. So yeah.
Yeah, and I can imagine, and I know it firsthand because we did a show that night, and I think it was Jeff Risley and Luke Matthews were
Mm.
doing like I'll send you the audio afterwards. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
they broke it down, and the 800's one of those events where it very much is like what are the 200 and 100 meter splits down to the tenth of a
yeah,
second, and you looked so aggressive for that first 200, and we're like up there with
yeah.
the big boys, and then kind of just got pushed back a bit. But then your
Shuffle back
last
a bit. Yeah.
150, like oh shit, here he comes, he's coming again. We're so
Mm.
used to seeing this on the domestic scene. So yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
fascinating to watch.
Yeah, it was like a moment in that race. Obviously, I thought I got out really solid, but I just let, I think one of the guys just get past me with about 300, 350 in. Kind of just checked my run a little bit and kind of had to go again, just shuffled back a bit. But then, with about 120 to go, I kind of pulled wide like I can in the domestics, like on the domestic scene. And, for a second there, I thought, oh, like, damn, I could progress here. Like, if I run through to the line, I could go close. But then, I was giving it my all, and just like those boys are kind of getting away from me. So I was like, oh, God. I was like, just run through the line, and, I might come away with an Oz record. I might come away with a PB, like just run through the line and see what happens. But, it just showed to me that next level that I kind of got to get to if I really want to do well on a world stage. So, no, it was awesome experience.
Yep. The 1500 meter PB. We will get back to talking about eights, but the 1500
Yeah,
meter PB, I've got it down here as 344, and then your
yeah,
mile at 412, which I reckon is the Murray Plant
yeah, yeah,
mile at the start of
yeah,
this year.
yeah, in February.
They're both correct.
Yeah, no, that's correct. Yeah, obviously, originally started as a 1500 runner, so I think that PB is from over 2 years ago, actually. So
Yeah, I did see
I'm
that.
I'm due to I think I'm going to actually open I'm pretty keen on opening my season with the 1500 this year, and I do think I can still run a really quite a good 1500. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I've got a bit of a number in my mind, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so is the eight, but very competitive that men's 1500 for Australia as well. But your closing speed's got to be a huge strength coming, championship style racing. I guess these days they do run them a bit harder from the gun with the Ingebrigtsen style. It's not so much the
Yeah.
Centro of 2016 where it's a sit and kick, but that kind of last 150 meters speed's going to come in handy.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I guess it's always been a part of how I race and the way I run. I've always seemed to just, have a fair bit left with 100, 150 to go. So obviously something I don't plan on losing anytime soon, and hopefully can carry it through all my career. And I think, yeah, like championship racing is my favourite style of racing, I think it suits the way I race the best. And, obviously I'm pretty lucky to have the kick that I do, and I think it can help me win lots of races in the years to come. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Were you always like great at that? As when I'm talking about as school, I understand
yeah,
school
yeah,
not that long ago, but like, were you always the guy who could always close quickly? Like, I know you kind of mentioned earlier that you've come from more
yeah.
of a, the triathlon and aerobic kind of events, and then kind of drop down, which is uncommon. Usually it goes the other way. Everyone kind of steps up in distances, but is that just natural speed there? Because
Mm,
when I watch you race, I think that's like more grit, mongrel.
yeah,
Like you got that dog in you that you don't want to be
yeah,
beaten. And I
yeah,
remember talking to people about this, and I'm like, no, this kid's got something different. Like
yeah.
it's not just top end speed. He knows how to rinse
No,
himself almost.
yeah. No, mate. I think the easiest way to put it, I just hate losing.
Yeah,
It's
competitiveness.
purely like, yeah, like I think, you know, I just like 100 to go. There's always like I don't think I've ever actually reached my limit in a sense. Like I always feel like I have something more, and that's just the way I approach every race. Like, um, it's just a matter of wanting it more than the person beside you, and I think that's kind of just the mindset I have with 200 meters to go in a race. Is people say, oh, like you must have, a really quick top end speed and stuff like that. But like, I wouldn't say I'm that quick in a sense. But if anything, I think my kick comes bit more down to more of a strength based element rather than like a pure speed. Just being able to have that extra gear at the end of a race is probably more of a strength thing than anything. But I also think a kick at the end of the race is a massive mindset thing too. So yeah, I think it's the ability to just not want to lose a race and just give it all.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it looks. I watched your
Mm,
Oceania 800-meter champs today, and I read the
yeah,
results before I watched the race again, and I was like,
yeah,
no, he doesn't win this. Like Luke Boys, it's kind of you went at him once, and then he got away, and then it's like then
yeah,
you went at him twice, and then it was like it's almost like in your head you're like, I'm not losing this race. I'm gonna get
yeah.
every single inch of it out because, and sometimes I hope this doesn't come across as offensive, but it doesn't
No,
look
no.
as
Oh,
smooth as some of the other people with 50 to go.
yeah,
But I feel
yeah,
like you can go to places that they can't.
yeah. I guess like you go back, touch back on that Oceania race, and I probably didn't run that race very smart to be honest. But I went at 300, didn't quite get past Luke, and then that's when I thought to myself, I feel like maybe with other athletes, if that happens, they might just go, oh, like shit,
Hmm.
kind of, I'm going here. But I think I went and didn't quite get past, but then I was like, okay, guys, just sit back in again for this straight, and then have another crack. Sit in again for this bend, and then have another crack on the straight. And yeah, I think yeah, I only just got there in the end. Obviously, it was a very competitive race with me and Luke, but yeah, just kind of emptied the tank and tried to get to the line as quick as possible. But yeah, never in that race did I think I was out of it. So yeah, I think that's kind of the way I approach it.
Yeah, good skill set to have. Hey, 3K, I've
Mm.
got you down as 8:12. I'm sure you could go so much quicker than that. Probably haven't had too many opportunities to run a fast 3K.
Yeah, no, that was yeah 2022 national champs actually. I did the 15 3K double that year, and that was quite a tactical race actually. I think um, yeah, that was a really yeah, that was a fun race to be a part of actually. Just that was a 100-meter kick to go, and kind of just got the win at nationals, and yeah, obviously I do think I can run a fair bit quicker than 8:12, but 3K hurts, man. So I
Mm.
don't try and run them too
Well,
often. So
talking
yeah,
about things that hurt, I reckon the Noosa Bolt in 2021 would have hurt as well. 15:04, I found that result. And all those U turns, it must be hard getting around there at that pace, and it's usually a pretty deep field as well.
oh yeah, obviously the bolts. That was more just happy to be a part of that race. Pretty cool atmosphere up in Noosa for that weekend, and it's close to home, so I thought I might as well. Honestly, I thought I might have ran a little bit better that year. I was probably doing a bit more 5K stuff with, triathlon stuff still in 2021. But Noosa can be bloody grim, just like that time of year. It was so hot that day. I remember after the second lap, I was just gone and just like fighting to the line. So, yeah, I'm glad I've kind of shortened up. I find 2 laps a lot funner than 5K. So,
Yeah, but there's no
don't plan on
relaxing
going
in
back
two
out
laps, is
anytime
there?
soon.
Like at least 5K you can relax a bit, work into it.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. There's not much room to switch off in an 800, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
When it's over in a
yeah,
minute 45 though, you can tough it out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, do you mind just giving the listeners and me as well, like the
Mm,
story that's got you to here? I know it's probably really
mm,
detailed, but like your relationship with your PE teacher, Brendan,
yeah,
is
yeah,
it Melian, and the
yeah.
the
Brendan Moyan.
the
Yep.
time in triathlon and kind of yeah, how it's come to be that you've become one of the best 800 runners in the world.
Yeah, well, I guess, mate. I've always loved sport. Growing up as a kid, like kind of did every sport when I was like real young. I grew up in a small town in central Queensland called Gladstone, and it was very like a rugby league prominent town. So I grew up playing rugby league for the first kind of 12, 13 years of my life. And then we moved down to the Sunshine Coast. It was actually originally, when I was younger, I originally thought, I always wanted to go to the Olympics, but at first it was actually for swimming. I did a fair bit of competitive swimming when I was younger. And it's crazy how it's just changed as I've gotten older. So I went from swimming into kind of triathlon once we moved down to the Sunshine Coast. You know, and then it was all triathlon for a couple of years, and it was probably not up until I think about the middle of last year. It's when I decided that I really wanted to just move into athletics. So I always did obviously some track racing when I was younger, and just through school sport and stuff like that, this like school sport nationals, and um, but it was more so doing the track racing to help my run for my triathlon. But I always seemed to do quite well on the track. So yeah, the middle of last year, um, I didn't. I had a fair bit of time off because I had a bit of an injury, and I was just thinking about kind of what my goals were and what I wanted to do. And I really wanted to compete in Paris, but for triathlon, it wasn't really looking likely for 2024. So I was like, damn, like why don't I have a crack at athletics? And I always thought I could run a pretty good 2 lap. So I just thought, I'll give the 800 a go, and kind of just dived head first and put everything into it. And I was really grateful that I have Brendan in my corner. Obviously, he's been coaching me since year 7 at school. So I was, 13. So it's been 7 to 8 years now. So, and me and him kind of just thought, why not? And, a couple people told me I was probably silly for thinking I could get on the Paris Olympic team, but I think it was just a matter of proving those people wrong. And, here I am. It's been a unbelievable journey, and hopefully one that continues for a long time.
Yeah, and I always get fascinated by
Mm.
the coaches. Like I think Simon Hull's similar. Like hasn't had a
Mm.
track record of he has his big stable of people that he's got to the Olympics in the past. And when I was doing research today, I didn't know anything about Brendan. Like has he had athletes at your level before, or like national level, or like
Um,
he's just identified something new, which I love. I'm a school
yeah,
teacher, by the way. That
yeah,
like
yeah. There you
this
go.
relationship, he spotted you at school and thought this is a special talent that we can do something with.
Yeah, so like I'm the first kind of athlete of Brendan's that's gone to like obviously a world class level. Like he's coached a couple of athletes to like nationals and stuff like that. But I think it was just a matter of I think he thought I have what it takes, and I knew he could be the person to take me to that next level. And I think he just committed and stay committed the whole time, and always thought I was a chance. So just worked really hard at it. It's been unreal, and I definitely wouldn't be where I was without Brendan in my corner. So yeah, it's been unreal.
Is he a pretty quiet guy? Like I wouldn't know
Mm,
what he'd look like
mm.
if I walked past him in the street.
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah,
know his name before today. 20,000 people will listen to this, and I reckon
yeah, yeah,
19,980 of them probably have never heard of him before. Like, does he keep a
yeah,
low profile, and it's the Peyton Craig show,
yeah,
and he sits in the background?
yeah. Quite very, very reserved, low profile guy, but always wants what's best for me, and always, so committed to my journey and doing everything possible to, you know, he's always trying to make himself better as a coach too. Always learning. It was awesome to see. Obviously, he came to the pre-departure camp for before the Olympics in Montpellier, and he was just sitting down and picking the brains of the other coaches, athletes that were there, and just working out what he can learn from them and bringing into his own professional development and something that's going to help me better and a couple of the other athletes he coaches back here. So, um, yeah, unbelievable guy and even better coach, and couldn't have asked for anyone better. So, yeah.
And like without speaking for him, like what's
Mm,
his training philosophy? I guess like what does your training look like? To
yeah.
when maybe a week where it's like I don't know, there's no major race for 6 weeks. Yeah, you just
Yeah.
ticking the boxes like that base kind of phase. What would that look like?
Yeah. So probably when we first got into the 800, it was more like I've come from an aerobic background, so I probably need to work on a bit more of a speed element. So it's probably more like for the first little bit, like a bit more of a speed based program. And I think that worked well for the first part of the year. I come out and I ran 145 a couple of times in a row, but then I think by nationals I found that I was just didn't quite have probably the extra legs that I really wanted to at that point. So we actually shifted to a bit more aerobic and threshold base, and just supplementing with one kind of pure speed session, and then a bit of like a lactic tolerance session. But then the rest of the running is kind of purely just, aerobic running as well as some tempo and threshold sessions. So, a basic week, I could run through a week when, don't have a race. So it'd be Monday afternoons, like a pure speed session. And that's, kind of all out trying to improve my top speed, like 60s, 40s, and then finish with like some 120s at pace and stuff like that.
You're
Obviously,
talking meters here too, aren't you? Not
yeah,
not
meters,
seconds. A
sorry.
couple of
Yeah,
our
no, not
listeners will be like,
seconds.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, 60-second
yeah,
reps,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
So,
no, this is
40 meter
top end
reps.
speed. Yeah.
Yeah, 40 meter reps, 60 meter reps. And then, yeah, with big rest and kind of pretty much all out. Um, so, yeah, that's a Monday Arvo. And then a Tuesday um, would be it's like some threshold stuff, like, I don't know, like 16 fours or 12 fives or 10 600s or something off some short rest. So a bit of like a threshold kind of aerobic work.
Yeah. And what kind of
Yeah, off,
pace we
off.
talking for the fours? Like considering you'd go through
I'd say,
50 seconds for
I'd,
the first lap of an
yeah,
eight.
I'd say around like 68s.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah,
you must be
probably.
cruising, but a lot of them
Yes.
off like what 20 seconds, 30 seconds recovery.
About 30 to 40
Yeah.
usually. So, um, and then Wednesday, so this is where, I still have a bit of an integrated program of triathlon. So I do the swimming and cycling on a Wednesday. I don't actually run on a Wednesday. So people would see my weekly mileage and not really believe that I'm a runner, because I don't run a lot of miles. I don't do a lot of easy jogging. It's more, I kind of supplement aerobic stuff from like some swimming and cycling. So I do that on a Wednesday. Thursday is, it depends. Sometimes it's some hill, like some, like kind of lactic hill work for a bit of strength element, or it's on the track with some, lactic tolerance. Session like that, probably the most common one. It was brutal. We were doing this pretty often throughout the year. So it starts, it's just real crazy to start, just 3 150s at, 800 pace, just walk back rest, obviously get the body moving. And then it's it's an 800, it's a negative split 800. So the first lap is in, what I want to run my first lap plus 10. So if I do it right, it's, 61. And then the second lap is first lap pace. So 61:51 is what I would usually try and aim for. But I was going a bit quicker this year for some reason. Did this one session that was 59:49. So it's like, so it's like a 148, 800, but a big negative split, and then finished with 4.2s off 45 seconds in sub 25. So I spewed my guts up a couple of times those mornings. It was pretty brutal that session.
And is
So that's
Brendan on the bike or something for that, or like you got a trainer partner that takes you through the first 300, or what do you got?
Some of the boys. We actually did we do a bit of a handicap for that 800 and send some of the boys off earlier. So I've got someone to chase in that second lap. So, and Friday's a bit more swimming and cycling again. Just like aerobic stuff, just nothing tough, just kind of supplementing from the aerobic running. And then Saturday morning is a bit more like, some tempo stuff and tempo to threshold aerobic work, like six by K, I don't know, 4 by a mile, something like that. Sometimes I'm on a fartlek or a tempo or something like that. So just kind of rotating it through and just keeping it fresh. And then Sunday is just what I call a long run. It's anywhere from 14 to 18K. It's not long, but it's probably all I need as a 800 meter runner. So,
and what kind of pace are we talking for the long run?
Oh man, not very, 4:45 maybe. I don't get much quicker.
I love that pace. Yeah. I'm a real 4:30 to 5 minute K pace.
Just
time on your feet. Yeah.
To me, I don't think you need to go much quicker, but I mean, people will disagree. But I don't see the need. So
yeah, it depends what you're training for. But yeah, that sounds like a very like not a lot of Ks in that week, but there's a lot of potential vomit sessions.
Oh yeah, it's brutal.
Need more energy, endurance, and faster recovery? Try Modex. Powered by Pycnogenol, Modex boosts blood flow and reduces inflammation for more efficient performance. More energy, more focus, more recovery, more immune support. Modex. Do more, naturally, every day. Modex is scientifically proven to be beneficial for immune support, energy, brain function, endurance and physical performance, healthy joints, blood circulation, inflammation reduction, and recovery. It contains no GMOs, no caffeine, no harmful ingredients, and is diet-friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegetarian, dairy-free, gluten-free, or practice intermittent fasting. Modex is HASTA certified for sport. Learn more via modexnatural.com.
Oh, that's good. And then like the relationship and the signing with On, like Craig, so Brendan's still 100% in charge of the program and Craig's more of like a mentor at this stage. That's how that looks.
Yeah. So obviously Craig's had a bit of input on my program. I'd say like Brendan's obviously still my coach, but Craig's got a lot of, Brendan, like I said, Brendan's runs it by Craig and stuff like that, and he has input in my program, and it's obviously having, the backing of the OAC and Craig, and it's been an awesome partnership and something that I think's, without the OAC, I don't think I would have made the Olympics this year either. So giving me the opportunity to go race in Europe, and like I said, having Craig at the Olympics, and that was, unmatched, and yeah, it's been awesome.
And I heard that, like, similar to the footy clubs, he was like scouting you from. You guys have been having conversations for a longer period of time than what people might imagine.
Oh yeah, it's been a bit over 2 years that me and Craig have been in contact with each other. So it's just a matter of when the time was right. When he first approached me, I wasn't sure because I think I still wanted to be a triathlete then, and then obviously, thankfully, Craig, kept faith in me and kept trusting me, and kind of started this year again once we saw that I was kind of committed to athletics. We had a chat. It was after the ACT champs in Canberra, and basically he told me how much he wanted me to be a part of the team, and he made me realise that it'd be an excellent move for me, and something I'm glad I decided to do. I definitely don't regret one bit. So it's been awesome.
Well, he's been there, hasn't he, with the triathlon chat, going back and forth as a junior as well. So
yeah.
And then what's that look like? Does he just slide into your DMs on Instagram, or like, did you know who he was when he first approached you?
Yeah, I did know Craig. Obviously, like. Probably arguably our best middle distance runner ever. So
I agree with you.
Definitely. I've definitely watched a couple of his races on YouTube back before I'd even seen Craig. So, but yeah, I think he was an Instagram DM, not from Craig. It was actually from Luke Bell. I don't know if you'll know Luke.
I know Belly. Yeah.
Belly, and then obviously put me in touch with Craig, and we had a conversation, and then just kind of kept cross paths at different meets, and finally committed to the team, and super glad I did.
I guess it's a benefit. Bally's got his eye over the triathletes as well. Like he's come from that world, so they're
he was a really good triathlete, Belly.
Yeah, they're doing well for On to be able to scope out two sports to try to get the best kind of talent. And how's it going to look moving forward? Like, will you spend time with the team in Melbourne for camps and stuff, or you'll continue to do what's obviously working for you at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, going to look to spend some time with the team. Obviously, we're gonna spend a fair bit of time away, and up at Falls Creek or Paris or whatever it is, doing some altitude work and stuff like that. So I'm really keen to get a part of the team and definitely be down in Melbourne a bit. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and obviously some really good runners in the squad that I'm really keen to hopefully run with them and then help me take the next step with them. So yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, and the junior there as well, like I guess Claudia Hollingsworth with her 800 metre, like you guys have nearly mirrored each other coming from other sports and how you've progressed, and how successful you guys both were at World Juniors and the Paris Olympics. Like it must give you a lot of confidence that when so much success comes from the one group, I guess, that people are doing things correctly and it's a good environment to be in.
Yeah, and like obviously Claudia had a great year, but so did everyone else in the squad. Really, Ben Dury was running really, really well before the Olympics. Ran some really, really good 800s. Jesse obviously had an unbelievable kind of breakout year, and guys like Bucks was still on the team, around for his second Olympics, and so many other guys that had really good years, and really looking forward to just being a part of the team and doing some sessions with them, and finally immersing myself and hopefully take that next step with some unbelievable athletes. So yeah.
Were there colleges as well from the US trying to get hold of you?
Yeah. I don't know. I looked down that path, but I also didn't. I don't know. I don't really think that collegiate system was for me. And thankfully, I see the OAC Oceania as kind of, is an avenue into the pro running that skips that need for a college environment. But I'm not obviously saying the college environment isn't beneficial, because it definitely is. Like you look at how many of our really good middle distance runners have come through college, but I don't think it was going to be quite the fit for me. And I'm glad I've done what I did and don't really regret the decision to not go to college. So yeah,
you kind of skipped that stage, didn't you? Like you see it now as almost somewhere you can go live like a full-time athlete and bridge that gap between juniors, and then hopefully come out of it and you're ready to make a senior team. But you've just done all that in like 6 months, so you didn't need to go there for 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, definitely wouldn't have been possible without signing with OAC. So I'm very grateful for their support and backing throughout this year. So
Yep. And titled like full-time athlete now, like no work on the side or study or anything like that. All the eggs are in this basket.
No, I was doing a bit of actually teacher aiding work at the start of the year, but then I was kind of sat down and I'm lucky to be in the position that I can go full time. And I why not? I want to really give Paris a crack, and I think if I go full time, that's me giving myself the best possible chance to make the team. So, yeah, full time athlete now, and no work at the moment. So yeah.
How do you keep like being 19-year-old? I can imagine your Instagram stories and TikTok feed and all that is very much like 19-year-old content, and you could look at it as like you're missing out on that. Like it's a fun time of your life, and you've been put into this world where it has kind of got to be serious and professional and high performance. Like, do you see it? Like, how do you keep the balance, I guess? Because you still want to be a kid sometimes.
Exactly. And I think I'd be silly to think, I'm a seasoned professional athlete right now. So I don't get me wrong. I still do act and do things and act like a teenager, like a 19-year-old. I'm really lucky. Like my group of mates that I've had all through high school are, really, understanding in a sense of how my goals are different to, what they're doing at, their current time in their lives. And I think it's really cool. Like, I can still go hang out with them and, not worry about drinking or partying, and just like they're happy to just, go hang out and give me that kind of get away from, being a full-time athlete. And, it's been really fun. I still, like I was up until started running, like for the Paris this year, I was still playing social touch football on a Wednesday night. So doing things like that. It's just obviously a good release from, what can be quite repetitive being a full-time athlete. So, but yeah, and in saying that also, if you want to achieve the goals that I'd set myself this year, that I was going to have to make sacrifices. And, one of those sacrifices is, going out drinking and partying and stuff like that. And, it was a sacrifice I was quite happy to make. And I'm just super glad I did, because I wouldn't achieve the things I did this year without making them. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of 19-year-olds looking at your stuff as well, not feeling great about themselves when they're home and saying that you're in the Olympic Village just off the back of making a semi-final at the Olympic Games. Hey, I got some quick fire questions for you. Ready for some of these?
Yeah.
I say that, but we'll probably talk about it for 5 minutes each question. But, some of your role models in the sport, who you got? I told you before I had posters of Craig Mottram on my wall. Like, who did you grow up kind of admiring and maybe still do?
Does it have to be in athletics?
Nah, you can give me whoever you want.
It doesn't have to be in athletics. Role model. I've always really loved Steph Curry, the basketball player. I'm a big Golden State Warriors fan, and I think for me, seeing how he, obviously one of the best players, best point guard of all time, I'd say, but how he just, manages himself and composes himself on and off the field. I feel like he's a very, just a nice human, and, doesn't get caught up in that stardom of his. So I think, being, and that's all I want to be at the end of the day. I want my competitors to know, I'm a tough guy, and I'm competitive when I'm on the track, but also a nice guy, and, can talk to me off the track. So, that's probably my biggest role model, if I'm being honest.
Did you cross paths with him in Paris? Didn't spot him at all?
I didn't. Unfortunately, the USA basketball team had a bit more high profile security than us guys in the village. So that would have been awesome, but no, not yet. Hopefully one day.
Yeah, he might still be there in 4 years' time. Might be able to spot him. Yep. What about hardest competitor domestically and then international? Like when you see, I guess internationally, when you get drawn the heats and you're like, shit, that guy's in my heat. Like, who's that?
Domestically, it was definitely Luke Boys this year. Obviously, we had some back and forth battles this year. Obviously, Luke's a unbelievable athlete, and definitely probably had what it takes to make the Olympic team this year, but just didn't quite end up on the team. So I'm sure he'll be back and ready to go for a spot at Worlds next year. And he had an unbelievable season. Definitely can't take anything away from him. So on the domestic scene, definitely Boise, and then internationally, I remember seeing Marco Arap in my heat, and I was like, oh shit, that's pretty stiff. Like, and then so probably Marco, because I know, Marco can win a race from multiple different ways. He can solo a 141 off the front, or he can, in the final, he split a 49-second lap. So like, he can win it in multiple different ways. So yeah, I'd probably say Marco Arap.
Yeah, he's always there, isn't he? Like, what you're going to get with him. Yeah. Like, this guy's always close to the front.
Yeah.
Has been for a number of years. What about hardest workouts? Like the ones that you see on the program, or Brendan tells you it when you get to training. Like you're like, this ain't gonna be fun.
Yeah. One of them obviously would be that Thursday morning session, that next split 800. But then also, I remember doing I think it was like something like 3/4s off, not off maybe like 90 seconds, but all three of them in 50 to 51.
Yeah.
Like that's brutal. But then also there's anything like at pace, at 800 pace, those fours, or whether it's like 8.2s in sub 25 off not a lot of rest, that's always grim. So it'd be something along that line, like a race pace effort, but with not a lot of rest, just pure lactic really.
Yeah. And the easiest ones where you get given, you're like, I'm good with this.
I'm good with this. Yeah. I really enjoy doing 16/4s. You probably, other 800 runners would probably beg to differ, but yeah, 16/4s off 40 seconds in 68. I'm never burying myself in them, but it's just kind of a feel good session. You're just I got this. I'm fit. It's a great session to do when you're fit. I really, really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, and the first one almost feels as hard as the last one. I feel when you've got that pace range and you have to, no burying yourself at the end. It's just you've got it under control. Yeah, good answer.
No, something like that. Yeah.
What about what's on your playlist for motivation? What are some of the artists? What your headphones guy in the room kind of guy, or you like having the headphones out and hearing what's going on?
No, I change. Sometimes I warm up with music, sometimes I don't. It was funny to see at the Olympics for my heat. I was so pumped up and really nervous. I actually needed something to calm me down, so I was actually listening to some country music, a bit of Zach Bryan, Morgan Wallen type vibe. But then for my semi, I was kind of just I'm gonna get myself as pumped up as I can, because I kind of don't really care. I'm just gonna go out and have a crack. So then that's more of pump up. I like a bit of 50 Cent, Biggie Smalls, also a bit of Drake and stuff like that. So I have crazy Post Malone, probably one of my main artists, just a very unique music taste. So it's all depends on kind of the occasion for me, if I'm being honest.
Okay, you gotta hit the feelings. And then I always love asking people if they've got a book on their bedside table. Is there anything you're reading at the moment, or any documentary you've watched recently that you can recommend, or movies, TV series?
I've actually been reading Ned Brockman's book at the moment, which is actually a great read. I love, obviously, he did that big run across Australia, so just thought, why not read his book, and his mindset kind of into it. I'm I can kind of relate to how he approached it. It's just kind of trying to hurt himself and see how far he can push it, and I guess that's kind of how I race. So I'm really enjoying that book at the moment. So
okay, put it on your list, listeners. Hey, the final one, and one of my co-hosts was you have to ask him this. Is the future for you a 1,500 metre guy, do you think?
I think it could be, yeah. If I'm being honest, I do think probably 1,500 could be my best event in the future, but still not ready to give up the 800 either, because I think I mentioned 143 at the start of the year, at the start of the interview, sorry, but I think next year I can run probably 142, so if I'm being honest. So that's the goal. So world champs next year, hopefully.
How good, mate. And hey, a massive thanks to one of your sponsors, Modex, for making you available. You can follow him on all... You're not on Strava, are you? You're not putting stuff on Strava?
No, I'm not on Strava.
Instagram, wherever else people follow stuff. I'm sure you're active in all those spots there. Good luck. It's exciting, and I'm blown away by the maturity, to be honest. Only because I remember myself when I was 19, and we have you, and we've had Claudia on before, and Croaks, my co-host, tells me how much, Cam Myers has got his head on his shoulders, and this new crop of young juniors. I've probably missed a few people there as well. You really need to be congratulated of not just what you guys are doing on the track, but how you kind of hold yourselves in public as well. It's just, it's quite amazing to watch from the outside looking in.
Yeah, no, thanks, mate. I do appreciate that. And obviously it's just exciting to be a part of, the current crop of, exciting middle distance runners and the juniors in Australia. Obviously just went away to World Juniors with Cam and Claudia and stuff like that. And I think, it could be a really good period for Australian running.
You guys all get along and stuff as well? It must be a good crop to be on teams with and just be we're doing this together.
Yeah, well, me and Cam hadn't had much to do with each other before Peru, and, he was my main guy in Peru, and now we're really good mates. So
Yeah.
we get along really well. So
Ah,
yeah, it's really
awesome,
good.
Peyton. Massive thanks for your time again today.
No worries, mate. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
All right, now joining me is Dr. Chris Van Der Poel. He's a senior lecturer at Latrobe University, and he's going to be getting into all the scientific, I guess, terminology and helping a man like me understand why athletes should use Modex. You've just heard from Peyton Craig, who's one of the brand's ambassadors and stuff, and obviously doing amazing things on the track. But Dr. Chris, welcome to Inside Running Podcast.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me.
And you're just telling me, Bacchus Marsh boy growing up, and now you're based in Melbourne, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Little town of Bacchus Marsh in the middle of Bendigo, Ballarat, Melbourne and Geelong. And in the associate town Darley, that's where I grew up, in Darley, just outside of Bacchus Marsh. So country boy like yourself.
Yeah, and what is like I know you're a senior lecturer, but like your history and stuff and the field you kind of work in, and how did this relationship with Modex come about?
I've always been an active guy and interested in sports and sports performance. And then after university, I kind of got into the biomedicine field, looking at the role of oxidation and various stresses in how that affects muscle. More importantly, in pathology settings, so in muscle disease and muscle injury and repair. And always looking for a way to get an edge. Like all of us who are doing, exercise, we'd like to take the supplements like, creatine and stuff like that. And, pycnogenol, which is the active ingredient in Modex, popped up on my radar a couple of years ago. And, there's a bit of limited information on that product or on that compound. So did my homework, and unique position where I can actually do experiments on some of this stuff. And, the interest grows from there. And got hold of Marcus and Dave at Modex, and the relationship grew, and we've started a clinical trial. We're looking at whether or not Modex can help some CrossFit athletes and some cyclists and runners and some AFL footballers as well. So it's been a few years now in the making, but I think that we're looking at some really cool stuff that's happening in the lab.
Yeah, and is it in other products, or like are you guys kind of the first to use this compound in a sports supplement product?
No, pycnogenol's been around for a while, so it's actually a Peyton product from a company in France, and the pharmaceutical company Arbor actually imported into Australia. So pycnogenol's been around for a long time. It's been used, I guess, to have a look at how it improves cardiovascular health, eye health, skin health, diabetes, and various different pathologies. There's only some various compounds or various drinks or cocktails that do exist that have pycnogenol in it and are available over the counter and online. Modex is probably one of only 2 or 3 that I could think of off the top of my head that do have a good concentration of pycnogenol in it. But it's certainly, I think it's a compound that certainly works, does what it says it's supposed to. And I think that that certainly means that it's going to help a lot of people in a number of different settings.
Yeah, and why? How's it going to help runners, I guess? Like if you're out there, and I feel like the supplement industry sometimes can get a bad rap because it almost seems like you should be taking a million things because everyone's trying to convince you that their product is the best one and it's the one piece of the puzzle you're missing with your training. But a lot of runners will listen to this and it's like, why Modex for not optimal performance, but help the athlete get to close to the optimal performance?
Oh, well, that kind of gets back to why we found pycnogenol in the first place. Everyone's looking for that little edge, that little something that'll complement a healthy lifestyle and make us feel a bit better when we're getting out there and running, riding, or whatever we're up to. And generally when we're looking for things, we're looking for an antioxidant, we're looking for an anti-inflammatory, we're looking for something that improves performance or improves recovery. And there are lots of phytonutrients. The pycnogenol can go under a phytonutrient that's originated from a plant, has those properties in it, and pycnogenol's do no different. So it has the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, certainly improves blood flow. So it's a nitric oxide, stabilizer. It improves the bioavailability of nitric oxide. And it also helps with the extracellular matrix of cells. So that's like your collagen and your fascia and that kind of those proteins in the body. It can help with the stability of your extracellular matrix as well. So it does a number of things that have application for a healthy athlete.
Yeah, and is there a time of the day to take it that works best? I'm on my second bottle. The guys were very generous in sending us a box full, and when I first got it, I'm like, oh, this is a big bottle. This is going to take me a while to get down. But when you do start doing the shot a day kind of thing, it goes pretty quick. But I've been wondering if there is an optimal time before or after exercise, in the morning, at night, that I should be using it.
That the research is a little bit cloudy when it comes to the optimal time to take it. We know that it has a very short, an acute effect on the body, which happens pretty quickly. So if you take something within 45 minutes to an hour, you're probably going to see a result and that's increasing blood flow pretty quickly. It's similar to, there's a couple of studies that have looked at erectile dysfunction, and they've shown that after 1 hour, you can certainly get an increase in blood flow. So we know that, in terms of going for a run or something, you're going to have vasodilation, and you're going to get, obviously, allow a little bit bit of an improvement in pumping of blood around the body when you go for that run, because of that vasodilatory effect that pycnogenol is having pretty acutely, so pretty quickly.
Okay.
Sorry, go for it. What were we going to say?
No,
Brady?
no, I was just saying okay. So that sounds like it's gonna obviously enter the stream pretty quick and start having effects pretty quickly.
Yeah, so that would, a couple of studies have looked at whether or not you take it between 1 and 3 hours before exercise and what that effect has on performance. And they've looked at some of the VO2 measures, times in a 2 or a 20 kilometer or a 2 mile run. And they've seen improvements with the pycnogenol supplementation. And that's probably because you're getting, an improved blood flow to working muscles. You're obviously going to have, an improved delivery of oxygen. You're going to have an improved in the takeaway of all those nasty byproducts that we know about that cause fatigue. You're going to get, I think one of the important things is you're going to get an improvement in VO2 kinetics, which is like that ability to go or to change exercise intensity. So, going from a zone 2 up to a zone 3, that change between those two zones can be influenced by your ability to pump blood. So if you've improved your ability to pump blood, you can actually change your intensity a little bit easier before fatigue's hitting in your run. So that would be where the runner would see an improvement in performance by just taking a single shot of pycnogenol. But you're also going to see some chronic changes as well. So once you've taken it for 4 to 8 weeks, you're going to see various changes around the body. You're going to see we know that it supports the immune system, so it actually helps the T helper cells. So T helper cells are those cells that help our immune system fight a virus or an invading bad guy. They're called helper cells for a reason, but the pycnogenol can support those helper cells. So you actually get a better immune response or a stronger immune response. So you might find that your athletes tend to get run down following a heavy period of training and more susceptible to getting a cold and kind of that kind of thing. So there's some evidence that says that you're going to get a more robust immune response and potentially improving recovery from a small infection.
Interesting. And should the dosage change when people are using the product and feel like a sickness is coming on, or do you just stay with the general guidelines for the how much to take?
No, I think you can probably stay with the general guidelines, which is, I think they say 30 to 100 mils or something like that of the pycnogenol. There's lots of different studies that looked at lots of different doses. It's a dose of as low as 36 milligrams is shown to improve cycling efficiency in both trained and untrained cyclists. And the highest I've seen is a 100 milligrams a day or 600 milligrams a day, of pycnogenol also improves the 20K time trial running. So, that's a pretty big dose. I think that 100 mils of Modex is probably down around about 200 to 250 milligrams of pycnogenol. So that's, in that good range that you're going to see a result. And you're going to load the body with pycnogenol pretty quickly. So if you're taking it daily for 2 weeks, you could probably, safe to say that your body is saturated with pycnogenol and it's going to be doing its job every day after that.
Yeah, okay, that's good to know. If you start taking it and you don't see any improvement in 24 hours, that's not how it's designed. It's a 2-week kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Beyond that 2-week period, you're going to start seeing some antioxidant support. So we know that it is an antioxidant, but it's a different type of antioxidant to one that you would think. So antioxidants or reactive. I should take a step back. Oxidative stress. We know that stress is bad, but oxidative stress is actually good. That you actually want a little bit of oxidative stress in the body after you go for a run, because that's the actual trigger for adaptation. So if you've got an antioxidant, sometimes these antioxidants can lead to a prevention of adaptation, if you like. We know that these phytonutrients that are from plants are a slightly different type of antioxidant, is that they do have antioxidant effects, but they actually increase the cytoprotective genes, or it's a transcription factor called NRF2. It's downstream of oxidative stress. So when you have pycnogenol, it actually increases NRF2 at the same time as decreasing oxidative stress. So it's a little bit of a unique kind of antioxidant, and it takes a couple of weeks for that system gene transcription to actually occur, and you get the benefit of the pycnogenol after about 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, okay. It must be a fascinating area to work in. I can't imagine what your day-to-day. I'm a school teacher, so it's very much like this is how we operate, 9:30 to 3 or 9 or 3:30, but your field must be always changing, and new studies and testing stuff yourself must be quite fascinating.
Yeah, so when I first started in this area, it was always about anti-inflammatory and antioxidant, and you must have these antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, because it'll lead to an improvement in performance. And then within 10 years, we started to figure out that actually, if you're taking too many of these things, it can actually lead to a detrimental effect on performance. So it's ever evolving, and it's like the different type of compounds that we can get our hands on. I was talking to a gentleman this morning that he has 5 million compounds that he is screening to see what the effect these things have on skeletal muscle. So we're a long way off really knowing what we're doing in this field. We're always finding new and amazing compounds that are safe to use, and they come from nature, so they're always it's safe to use and not going to be anything made in the lab. Essentially, it's all I guess what you're after when you're an athlete. You want to know that what you're taking is something that's safe, natural, and not going to get you in trouble with any of the authorities.
Yeah, so Modex, 40 years plus of research, plus that TGA listed, which is important to note as well. So, and as you said, all natural. So now a massive thanks for giving up some time for the Inside Running podcast, trying to explain that in terms that I and the listeners can understand, because some of us just don't have that science brain, Dr. Chris. So, a massive thanks for being able to put it in terms that we can understand, and appreciate your time today.
And my pleasure, Brady. It's been fun being on, and I've enjoyed myself. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. This weekend interview is powered by Modex. Need more energy, endurance, and faster recovery? Try Modex. Visit www.modexnatural.com.